Star Wars nerds, and welcome to Unlimited Content, the podcast where two brothers talk about all of Star Wars film and TV in chronological order on the internet as an excuse to hang out more. We're your hosts, Sam and Jack, and this week we're talking about The Clone Wars, Season 2, Episodes 6, 7, and 8, Weapons Factory, Legacy of Terror, and Brain Invaders. Jack Ford.
Brain Invaders?
Jack Ford, how the heck are you?
I'm doing pretty good today, Sam. That was a dramatic pause at the beginning of your intro there. That was
It was
fun. You like to shake things up sometimes.
I do. Yeah, we gotta keep people on their toes, you know? We're 27 episodes in. We can't do things the same way every single time. We gotta...
Yeah. Everybody knows that episode 27 is where things get real crazy.
Truly.
You know?
Truly.
It's the way, yeah.
It's 3 cubed. We have to.
It's true, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3 to the 3rd.
3 to the 3rd. Jack?
Yes.
Hi. I don't know. I thought...
It's a little late. It's starting a little late today.
We're starting a little late. Oh, man. You know, like, I feel like I've been dragging lately, and the bills are just stacking up, and I'm just overwhelmed sometimes. Jack, how are we going to pay these unlimited bills?
Well, you know, I think there's a way I could help with that. I think there's because this week we do have an unlimited sponsor for our podcast.
Do tell.
Yeah, this week's episode of Unlimited Content is brought to you by live music.
Live music?
Going to see good music shows and just hearing it live, it's nice. I've got music on the mind this week for multiple reasons, but one is I did see some live music, and it looks like you did too, Sam.
I did. Tell me about your live music, Jack.
Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, we'll get into what we've been doing. So one thing that I did is I saw a couple movies this week. There's a group of folks that I'm friends with who are all like game developers here in Austin, and we've started just like this past week basically a film club, essentially. Like, so game developers who like movies just go into film screenings and stuff. So, and the first one we went to was earlier this week on Thursday. We went to see The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a silent film from the I think like late 20s. Anyway, but it's a silent film, but it was accompanied by a band playing a live score that they had composed, and it's a band from, I think they're from Austin. They're called the Invincible Czars.
That's great.
Very good.
That's great.
It's a great name. Yeah. And they just got back from like something like a 9-week tour across the US, like doing this every night basically, and so like their final stop on the tour is then back home. And
I love that.
Yeah, so I went to the Austin Film Society Cinema, which is like it's like a one screen theater with a bar and stuff, but it's like, you know, there's a lot of screenings of like classic films and art films and stuff there. But yeah, I went with some friends to go see this, and it was really good. It was the movie itself, I had never seen this movie before, but it was a movie I was familiar with because it's like one of the movies they talk about in film school when talking about like that era of film, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, for those that don't know, is it's from the 1920s-ish, I think. I should really look up things before I say things on this podcast, but whatever. Nobody cares.
You know, one of the things people appreciate about our podcast is just the confidence with which we say things and the lack of data to back it up.
Yes.
That's what I love about our podcast, is we just...
1920.
Hey, that is...
There we go.
Literally the beginning
20s.
of the 1920s.
Yeah, so I was right.
You were right.
Anyway.
See? We don't need data to back us up. You got it. You did it.
Yeah. Well, now we have data. It's just the data always comes after the fact. See, that's how I like to form my opinions, Sam, is I form an opinion and then search for data to support my inherent bias.
Yeah, the whole ready, fire, aim way of doing things.
It's a good way of putting it. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
It's excellent. Yeah, so it's a 1920 German silent horror film. It's considered to be one of the first horror films, if not the first horror film.
I love that.
It's about this guy called Dr. Caligari, and he has a cabinet with a man in it who he calls a somnambulist. So it's just like a guy who sleeps all the time, but like he like basically uses him to like wakes him up and tells him to go kill people, basically, kind of like hypnotizes him, and like, you know, so it's like a serial killer story basically. Before serial killers were a thing.
This is the first Winter Soldier. He just Winter Soldiers this guy.
He's kind of a Winter Soldier, yeah, basically. I thought of it like that, but it totally is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, it's very like visually interesting movie because it's like all the sets are like they clearly look like sets, but it's like kind of intentionally that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kind of made of like wood and cardboard, and everything's like at weird angles, and like I don't know, it's very interesting and sort of like surreal looking, but it's very cool. It's got a really cool like distinct visual style, and it's a really fascinating movie. And you can, you know, just to see, like, I think this is also a very influential movie. Like, it, you know, it inspired a lot of stuff afterwards. And this is considered to be one of like the first films in the what's it called, a German expressionist movement, which is it's a series of films that like later went on to inspire film noir, basically. So it's stylistically, it has a lot in common with noir films.
Love that.
But yeah, super weird and fun and creepy, and definitely a great, like, I mean, you know, just barely post Halloween, you know, but it's, you know, it felt appropriate still. But yeah, so I went and saw that, and that was fun, and the music that accompanied it was very good. It's like a, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 piece band. Most of them are multi-instrumentalists, and they compose scores for like silent films. So they've done it for this. They've done it for Nosferatu. They've done it for some other ones.
Nice.
But yeah, this is the first time I've seen these guys, and they're very, very good. It was like, I mean, the score, like it definitely, like, their style and the way that they did it, it felt like it really fit the tone of this movie. And it was spooky, but it was also very, like, I don't know, it was really good. It was like, the band was like a combination of, like, there was like guitar and bass and keys and drums, but there was also like a violin player and a guy who played woodwind instruments, and it was just a very sort of bohemian, like, I don't know, it was cool. I liked it. But yeah, I think they're on Spotify if you want to listen to some of their music. The Invincible Czars,
nice.
That's what they're called. Yeah, that was super fun. So that's my music performance thing that I saw. And then I did watch another movie. We met again later, like on the weekend, at somebody's house in like their backyard, and watched a Hitchcock film called Strangers on a Train, which was very good. It's one of Hitchcock's older movies, and it's like still in black and white, old, you know. But it's, the premise is that like two strangers meet on a train, and one of them has this idea. One of them is basically a psychopath, and he's like, and he wants to like kill his dad. And the other guy is like a famous tennis player who is in the middle of a very public like divorce with his wife. And so the psychopath guy has this idea that, like, hey, you know what we should do? We should swap murders so that they can't tie the murders back to either of us. So I will kill your wife and you kill my dad, is the idea. Yeah, and so like the tennis player guy is like, no, you're crazy, I don't want to do that, what are you talking about? But then he, like, the other guy kills his wife, and so it's like, yeah, he's kind of like, yeah, he's like pressuring him to be like, you gotta do it now. I held up my end of the bargain, and I'm gonna follow you around, and if you don't do it, I'm gonna tell people what happened, and they're gonna think it was you because you're the one with the motive. And anyway, it's very interesting, a very, very, I mean, it's Hitchcock, it's great. Yeah, it was very like it didn't kind of go the way that I expected it to. At least knowing the premise going in, it was kind of I didn't know where it was going the whole time. It was very it was great.
That's the best kind of movie. I love movies that keep me on my toes.
Yes,
a lot of fun.
Definitely. You can't go wrong with Hitchcock. So
truly,
yeah. So those were movies that I watched this past week, and they were both good. Let's see what else. In video game news, I finished both Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Bros. Wonder this past week.
Nice.
Both of them were very good. Yeah, and I haven't like 100%ed Mario Wonder, but I've like beaten all the levels to completion. But there's like other stuff you can get. Like, there's like, you can collect extra like there's like big coins you collect.
Yeah,
like there's like 3 in each level, that kind of thing. And or like, touching the top of the flagpole on every level, like little stuff like that. But like, I've essentially completed the game in that I've beaten every level, including like, there's like a secret world that you can go to with like,
fun.
like how in Super Mario World, there was like special world or Star World, whatever it's called, with like challenge levels. And so I did that as well. But yeah, both of those are very good. And then this past week was also my birthday.
Yeah, it was. Happy birthday, Jack.
Thank you. I'm 28.
So old.
28. Which, yeah, I know. It's like, like I still, there's so many times when I'm like hang out with my friends who are like older than me, even if they're only older like by a couple of years, and I'm like, I feel like the kid in the room all the time. But I still like, I'm like, oh, I'm 28 years old. I'm not a child, even though I feel like I'm still, it's, but, yeah, 28. So far, so good. This 28 thing. But yeah, let's see.
Did you get anything fun for your birthday?
Yeah, I think I talked about this the last time, because like last weekend, our parents were in town, in my town.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were in my town this past weekend.
Yeah, they visited you.
Indeed.
They back-to-back weekends.
Whirlwind, if you will.
With their 2 eldest kids.
Yes.
With the co-hosts of Unlimited Content.
Truly.
But yeah, I think I said this last time, but when they were here, they got me a Lego set of a bust of Captain Rex's helmet, which I'm very excited to. I haven't built it yet, but I'm going to soon. It's been like sitting in my living room to the side. I like look over at it every so often. I'm like, I want to build it, but I have other things that I'm doing, and I'm like, I want to find it a nice like good time I can just sit down and zone out and like have something on in the background and build it. It's just
just have like
an Lego set's very fun and meditative.
Oh yeah,
like relaxing, satisfying experience.
Yeah, just find a day when you got like an afternoon off. You can just plop down and do it. It's good.
Yep. And then the other exciting thing, the other music related thing too, is I finally, on my birthday, I decided to buy myself a record player. So I've been slowly accruing a collection of records, as I've talked about a little bit on the podcast before. And like over the past couple years, I've collected a handful of records. I've got maybe 10 records right now. But I was collecting these because I just like wanted them for the sake of like having physical copies of this music that I love, and also just like for the artwork, and I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why I think it like having vinyl records is cool and fun. But I didn't have a way to play them until recently, until this week. And so that was cool. That I got an Audio-Technica player. It's an LP60X BT, which I think is the same one that you have, except with Bluetooth.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. And I when I got it, I returned a couple things to Target that I ended up not needing. Like I had like some pairs of pants that didn't fit me, and so I returned those, and then I like had like 4 or 5 different coupons and discounts that all stacked on top of each other, and I had some store credit, and so I ended up getting like $100 off of this record player. And I felt like a wizard,
as you should.
Like, yes, I did it. I won the couponing game. It's always great.
Truly.
But yeah, I set that up, and I've been enjoying it. It's just, I don't know. It's super cool to finally be able to like listen to these records, that I in my collection, but also to like, I spent some time this past week also going to a couple of record stores and looking around at things, and just like I've like Waterloo Records is a place that I've talked about before on the podcast, and I went back there, and this is the first time that I've been there since owning a record player, and it feels different now. I'm like, there's like, it's a land of opportunity now. It's not like someday, what if, maybe. It's like, I could start collecting things, and I like, was just going through all of the, I just kind of went through everything and just looked for all the different artists that I like, and I was like finding all these albums that I was like, I could have that on vinyl. I could have that, like, I could have a physical version of this album that I've spent years listening to and loving, and I don't know. It's just, there's something exciting, and like, it's more like intimate and personal and like tactile, and it's just cool to have that. Like, there's something different about owning a piece of media versus like streaming it.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, but yeah. But yeah, so I got the record player, and then I got a handful of records this week as well. I went to Waterloo and I got the first album by Churches, The Bones of What You Believe, which is one of my favorite albums. It's great. I also got Funeral by Arcade Fire, absolutely one of my favorite albums. Love that album.
Excellent.
And I got for $4, I found a kind of beat up used copy of the score to Return of the Jedi.
Excellent.
So yeah, and I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I like put it on the record player and listened to like the first few minutes, and it's like it sounds great. It sounds like I think the case is like, you know, the sleeve it came in is pretty beat up, but I think the record's still in great condition.
Sweet.
So that's cool. And then I got one other record that I did tell you about already, which is I got John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together.
Yes.
On vinyl.
Where did you find it? I need to know where to.
It's just on Amazon, dude. You could just.
Is it really on Amazon?
Yeah, it's like $20 on Amazon.
I'm ordering it right after we get off here because
Cool.
I have not been able to find it for the longest time because it's always been like one of those. Like I look on Amazon, I look at other places, and it's just always says like
it's like out of print.
It's like out of print or available in like other formats, or like that's all it really says.
Yeah.
So I've never known it to be existing on Amazon. So they must have like just started reproducing it again.
Yeah, it might be like the time of year too. Now that we're getting close to the holidays,
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm buying it.
But yeah, and it's
right
like it's interesting. It's like it's the style of like the vinyl record itself. They call it like candy cane swirl is what it's supposed to look like. But which you know, I assume that meant it was supposed to be like, you know, red and white in kind of a swirl pattern. But like when I got it, it just sort of looks pink. But it looks good. It's just it's just like I was like, oh, this is a very pink record. But it sounds great and it's delightful. For those of you that might not know, our family members all know this, but everybody else, John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together is the album that our family by far listened to the most around Christmas time growing up, just on repeat. Sam is showing me. He's got the Amazon app pulled up. He's about to add it to his cart, or he did it, or I can't tell. It's washed out. Did you do it? I can't see.
Yes, I just ordered it. Okay,
cool. Happy for you.
Yep.
He was showing it to the camera, but like the screen was too bright, so it was just washed out. And I couldn't do anything.
And I was trying to like swipe the like order now thing on Amazon, like on it, and I was trying to look in like the little viewfinder window of my camera, but it was washed out and it was like the size of a postage stamp, so I couldn't see what I was doing.
Excellent.
So I like tried it like 4 times. Hopefully I didn't like accidentally charge like my mother-in-law's card, because we do share her account, so hopefully I didn't accidentally whatever. Worst case,
Merry Christmas from your mother-in-law.
Yeah, well, I know I know the address is correct, so she might have just bought me a Christmas gift. I don't know.
Excellent.
She doesn't listen to this, but she does watch her credit card, so I will get a phone call tomorrow if that doesn't happen. Cool. Worst case scenario, I just like hand her the cash. It'll be fine.
Yeah. But yeah, we listened to this a lot growing up, didn't we, Sam?
Yeah. Like, it got to the point where like, so I don't know, Christmas is my favorite holiday, and I am a staunch believer, like at least when I was like in high school and middle school, I was very much more attached to like things we always had to do these specific traditions that were very important to me, and if we didn't, I was gonna fight you. Like we had to do them. And I remember there was one year, I think when I was in high school, someone wanted to listen to a different Christmas album first, like when we were decorating the tree, and I was like, no, John Denver and the Muppets is the first album to do. If we finish it, if like we're still decorating the tree while like before like after we finish like the album, we can listen to whatever else we want, but the first 12 tracks that we ever listen to have to be this album. And
I do remember that. Yeah, I remember you being very adamant.
Yeah, looking back, I'm like, wow, I was a butthole about that. Like,
I mean, I don't know, people have different like traditions are important to people.
No,
and
I mean,
especially at different points in people's lives. Yeah. You know, like there are times when it's like, you know, you need something to hold on to.
Sure.
Or,
and I got genuinely angry and was probably a little mean, and I should not have acted the way I did. But I don't exactly regret it. I do feel bad, but I don't know if I regret it.
You know what? It's in the past. we're past it.
Indeed.
And now we're adults, and we can celebrate in whatever way we want, including listening only to John Denver and the Muppets if we want to.
Yeah. Although my wife is not the biggest fan of it. She tolerates it.
Yeah.
So we'll
Does
see.
Sarah have a favorite like Christmas album?
Not John Denver and the Muppets. I'm not sure if he has a favorite one.
All right.
I should know, but I don't. Off the top of my head.
It's okay. But yeah, I'm excited to have this, like, because I feel like it's such a like important like album for us from growing up. So I'm glad to have kind of like my own physical copy of it now. And like, because one of the things I wanted to do when I got the record player was like, in addition to just having like copies of albums that I love and I just want physical copies of them, I also wanted to have like some Christmas records to have like on in the background for ambiance, just like during the holidays, just to, you know, have that vibe, that mood, the seasonal cheer, you know. And of course, that was the first one that came to mind, was John Denver and the Muppets. And I was like, it's like you told me like you had trouble finding it. And so I was like, didn't think I was probably going to find it, but I just looked it up on Amazon, just wondering. And I was like, oh, it's just there with 2-day shipping. I'll just get it.
It's got to be, because I looked last year and it was not there.
Yeah. It's well, luckily
it's
back.
new. It's back.
It's back. Yeah. Yeah. That makes me very happy. And yeah, that's kind of been what's up with me. Sam, tell me what's been up with you. I know there's some musical stuff and also some sports ball stuff that you're very excited about.
Jack Ford. The Texas Rangers are world champions.
Whoa!
I never in my life thought I was going to be able to say that. But I'm saying it, and it's real.
That's amazing.
But it doesn't. It was like almost a week ago, and it does not feel real yet. It wasn't almost a week ago. It was like it was Thursday. Yeah. It doesn't feel real.
Well, I'm happy for you anyway.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's cool.
Yeah. This is our third trip to the World Series. First World Series victory. Very, yeah. I don't know. I still can't quite process how excited I am about the fact that the Rangers won the World Series. One fun tidbit that I think you'd appreciate. So the Rangers, like the team themselves, like they, towards the end of the regular season and the beginning of the postseason, they started listening to a very specific band to pump them up, like to get ready for games. Do you know who that band was?
Fleetwood Mac. I don't know.
It was Creed.
Oh, excellent.
They listened to Creed, specifically Higher by Creed, like, can you take me higher? So that amazing. Something I learned today. So Creed like is from Dallas, and they like are big like fans. Like they've performed it like back when they were big in the 90s. Like, or no, it was it was like the Thanksgiving right after 9/11. They performed at like the Cowboys Thanksgiving halftime show and all this stuff, and like it's one of their most iconic performances. They perform Higher and all that stuff, but they haven't been playing for a long time. But like, so the Creed kind of like they like leaned into it. They're like, the Rangers are our favorite baseball team. Like, we're super excited about this, blah, blah, blah. In the middle of the playoffs, Creed announced that they were going on a reunion tour. And from the day that the Creed announced that they went on a reunion tour, the Rangers were undefeated. The Rangers have not lost a game since Creed reunited.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
I love that Creed is their good luck charm.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So I thought you'd appreciate that.
That's great. That's excellent. Yeah. As you know, I'm not super into the sports, but I do remember like I do have fond memories of like going to Rangers games growing up. Like, I feel like the first sports games I ever went to were going to see the Rangers. Like I remember like I had a Rangers baseball cap at one point, and I remember getting like, you know, the ice cream and the plastic upside down hat.
Yeah.
Bowl, you know,
it's the best.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't particularly enjoy watching baseball that much, but I do like the atmosphere and the vibes of like going to a baseball game because it feels chill.
There's a baseball game is the most social sporting event you could possibly go to. Like, it's because there's like not always a lot of action happening. and there's a lot. So it's usually like something happens really fast. You get really excited about it, and then there's about 30 seconds of downtime. And then something else happens again, or it might not happen again. And like, it might just be a series of like boring pitches, or like three batters up, 3 batters down. Like, I don't know. So there's just a lot of like time to just like talk to the person sitting next to you in the stands and like all that stuff. So
it's like having a show on in the background.
It really is. It really is. So yeah, baseball is great for that. I love it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I saw you and Marion in Rangers gear.
Yes.
I saw a picture of that.
Yeah. The day after they won. So they and maybe it was Wednesday night. Yeah, it was Wednesday night because mom and dad got in town as like they like pulled up to our house as like the first pitch of the game that we won the World Series at started. So they watched the final game of the World Series at our house, like
awesome.
the night. So I got to watch it with mom and dad and Sarah and Marion for the first couple innings before she went to bed. But yeah, it was really special to get to like watch that with, because the first time I ever like watched baseball was with dad, and it was really special. And mom, I think, mom was there too. But it was just like special to like, have both of them there, and yeah, it was really special.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah,
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, and it was the most quiet, elated celebration ever, because Marion was asleep like 15 feet away from us, like through thin walls. So like, I wanted to jump up and down. I wanted to scream, but I had to be silent and just like have my both fists up in the air.
Silently crying.
Yes. Yeah. No, it was, oh my gosh. It was so good. So good.
That's awesome.
I'm so happy.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
yeah, I learned about it because I work at a news station in Texas. And so of course we were talking about it. And I was like, I don't know. It was just it was just funny to me that like I work at a news station, and it was like, editing stories about like the Rangers and the World Series and stuff, and I was like, I feel like I'm pretending to know what I'm talking about here. Just, it's, I mean, that's the way it is a lot of time with news stuff, but especially anytime like sports stuff comes up, it's like, I understand that this is a big deal, but I don't really get it. But I'm like happy for the people who are happy about it, and it's still like, it's exciting for me to see other people get excited about stuff, even if it's not something that I personally understand. It's like, it's I think one thing that I've liked about working in news is the fact that, especially like working in local news, is that I feel like I'm more like personally connected to Texas and Austin in particular, like in a way that I wasn't before, because I'm so much more aware of all the different things going on around the city and the different groups of people dealing with different issues and the different things that people celebrate. And it's nice to have this, like, I'm generally pretty like socially anxious and introverted, and I spend a lot of time hanging out with like just my small friend groups or staying at home or whatever. So I don't necessarily like get out a ton, but I do like the fact that I can feel a little more connected to the city, to the community by like just knowing what's going on. It's it feels good. I think that like local news in particular is a very like, it can be a very important and vital aspect of like,
for sure, of
news in general and of journalism, and because it's like when local news is done right, and I think I'm proud to say that the local news station that I work at does do a lot of good for the community. And I think that they do a great job. I think at its best, local news is like, it's there to serve the community and like to tell people what they need to know, but also to like advocate for people who need to, like, putting the stories out there that aren't getting as much attention, and putting focus on like local issues that otherwise wouldn't get, nobody would know about or think about.
I love it. Yeah, being a voice for the voiceless, speaking truth to power, all like the good stuff. And
yeah, that's what journalism is supposed to be about. Not that I'm like a journalist, really, but like it feels nice to be a part of that, and to know that like the job that I'm doing is in some way contributing to like the betterment of my community.
That's great. Cool. I love that. Yeah. So sports. We did the sports. We talked about sports, and I also have my
jazz.
Own. Yeah, jazz. Yeah. So Kansas City has a deep history with jazz. Like jazz, like Kansas City has like, this might be a little too bold to say, but like it's almost as important to like the history of jazz as like New Orleans is. There's just a lot of history of jazz in Kansas City. There's a lot of good live jazz bars in Kansas City. So last night, Sarah and I went on our first date in a while, and we went to this place called the Green Lady Lounge in Kansas City, and it is a very darkly lit room, but like we were sitting about 8 feet from the band. Like I was sat directly behind the drummer. Like, is this kind of like it's a long room. The band is at one end of the room, but there are seats behind the band. And then the bar is in front of the band, and then you can sit all on the bar. The room's probably about 100 feet long and about 20 feet wide, and it's just very small, cozy, intimate. And so we watched like probably 2 hours of this band's like jazz set, and there were some parts of like this set that like my jaw was just on the floor, and I just like was leaning forward, just like, is this really happening in front of me? Like, it's just like the magic of like these three musicians. They were so good. There was this. I'll have to look up who the band was, because they're a local band to Kansas City, but I almost bought one of they were selling vinyls of like their music there. But it was a 3-piece band. There was a guitar player, a drummer, and an organ player.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so cool.
That's amazing. And
it was all just like instrumental.
Guitar, drums, and organ. That's incredible.
It was so cool. Yeah. And so the organ player was like doing like the bass lines with his left hand, and like playing like the kind of fun, like what you would think of when you think of jazz organ in his right hand. And like the drummer was just nuts. He had like a 5-minute drum solo that like it took me about 2 minutes to realize that there were no other instruments playing other than him. It was because it was like the musicality of the drum solo, like I was like the song just kind of melded into like everything just kind of faded away, and I didn't even notice that the rest of it was gone. It was just because it was just this one drum performance that just stood on its own so well.
A great jazz drum solo can definitely, it can just be carried by itself. It's definitely that reminds me, like I'm not like super into jazz, like I appreciate it, but I don't do a lot of it. But I like, that reminds me of have you ever seen the movie Whiplash?
I've not. I need to.
It's very good. Yeah, it's very it's a very tense, very stressful movie.
Yes,
so I know that going into
that's
it.
part of the reason I haven't watched it. It was like that. I like when I watch a music, like a movie about musicians, I want it to like have like a heartwarming ending, because music can be so tragic at times, and I like wanted to not be. So like, Whiplash,
understandable.
I know it's a good movie, and I know I need to see it, but it's just kind of like, I don't know if I want to watch it right now, because I usually, when I'm watching things, I want it to be kind of like an escape from reality, where like, I'm stressed, I've had a long day, I want to unwind and watch something that's like going to let me like escape into some place that's warmer and happier than like my bad day today. So
it's 100% understandable. If you are ever in a place where you feel like you can watch it, though, I do definitely recommend it. It's Miles Teller plays the main character. He's great in it, and then of course J.K. Simmons is in it as like the teacher guy. Very intimidating. But what that reminded me of is that like the ending sequence of that movie is one of my favorite like sequences in any movie. Right? Because it's them playing one song. It's got a 9-minute song, and like half of it is drum solo, and it's incredible. I remember watching that movie for the first time, and like the experience of like watching that performance is like it's like the way you described it, as like, you know, it was like just drums for a while, but you know, it doesn't feel like the other instruments dropped out, because it still feels like a full. It still feels like a full like musical experience just through the drums, because it's so full and it's so complex and interesting and like engaging the whole time. Excellent movie. Some amazing music in that movie, and one of the best like edited and shot sequences of music playing I've seen in a movie in that one. So that's what that reminded me of. But yeah, that's cool. I would like to see more live music. I like seeing most of the time when I go see live music, it's like an orchestra, because that's the kind of music I listen to a lot of the time, and it's that kind of performance is more palatable to me as someone with social anxiety than like, you know, going to like a rock concert where you have to stand, and you know, there's more like social pressure or like a lot of people or a lot of noise, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, I would love to just like go to a jazz bar sometime and just like, you know, because I like when I'm listening to music, I like to like sit and listen and like absorb it, and I feel like a lot of the time when it's like a larger kind of, you know, a big like bombastic concert, it's like that kind of gets in the way of it, and I just kind of, you know, all of the other things around the music ends up stressing me out and tiring me out to be like, so I can't enjoy it as much. But yeah, I know I told you this. I don't know if I mentioned it in the podcast, but next month in December, we're going to be driving to San Antonio to go to the Sonic the Hedgehog Symphony Tour. Which I'm very, very excited about.
Since you told me about that, I'm getting ads for the one in Kansas City, like the same tour, but in Kansas City, and I'm tempted. I can't afford the tickets, but like it looks like so much fun.
Yes. So this is a concert. They did it once for like, it was like I think the 30th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog a couple years ago, and they did like a one-time like online stream of an orchestra concert. And then they decided to be, after it was a big success, and they were like, okay, let's actually, well, first they put it on Spotify, so like you can listen to the whole thing on Spotify, and then they were like, let's actually take this on the road. And so they've been doing like an international tour of this, and it's super cool. For all of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise's ups and downs, and its many downs,
yes,
it has one thing that's like consistently great about it is the music. There's like, you know, you know, all sorts of different kinds of music, and, you know, not necessarily, you know, to everybody's taste necessarily, because, you know, you've got like kind of classic video game music on, you know, in the older games, and you've got like in the Sonic Adventure era, you've got like, you know, the butt rock of like Crush 40, and
yes,
you know, which is, you know, excellent, and, you know, we grew up with that, and so that's still close to my heart, and I unironically love it still. And there's just like, but I'm also just like, you know, I don't know, I feel like every Sonic game that comes out, even if there's not like, even if the game itself isn't great, it still usually brings with it some great music, and that's one of the reasons why I love that franchise, that series so much. And so when they like did that live stream of the concert, I was like, this is so amazing, and I love it, and I wish I could see this live. And then they were like, we're doing a tour, and I was like, yes. Anyway, so I'm going to that. The way it's gonna be like somewhat different from the original like live show, because I think they changed it up a bit and they added some stuff, because like there's been at least one Sonic game. There's been two Sonic games that have come out since the concert initially like live streamed. So they've added some music from those, but it's like the first half of the concert is all like full orchestra stuff, and then the second half is like more of like the rock stuff. And then like at the very end, they do a few songs that is a combination of both the rock stuff and orchestra accompanying it, and it's amazing. Like they do some stuff from Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 that are it's like both, you know, like a rock band with like electric guitars and drum set and, you know, singers and everything, but also the full like just like string ensemble and horns and everything. Like so good, man. Anyway, I'm very excited for that. So, yeah.
The Sonic Adventure games were so fun.
Yes.
I loved, especially Sonic Adventure 2 was like some of like the best like video gaming I think I've played that's like not like Zelda or like Star Wars. Like it's like, I would put it like, I put Sonic Adventure 2 in like probably my top 10 video games I've ever played in my life. Mm-hmm. Just like in terms of like how fun it is, how replayable it's been. Like it's just so good. And the music is a big part of that. Like yes, like, absolutely. Like City Escape, like isn't that the first level? Is like City Escape? Yeah, and it's just so iconic, and like the music, and it's just so much fun.
Yes, rolling around
at the speed of sound.
Speed of sound. Yeah. Oh, what an amazing. Yeah. The Sonic Adventure games are like some games that like I've gone back and played them like as an adult, and I still enjoy them. Like I can see the parts of them that are like, you know, ridiculous and in some cases just bad, and I can see that, but it's still like, it's just still so fun. And I acknowledge that part of that is because I grew up with it, but it's still like honestly just earnestly like fun and silly and cool. Like right. I love it.
And as like an 8-year-old, which is how old we were like when this game came out, like no one
perfect.
It's absolutely flawless 10 out of 10.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Because Sonic Adventure 2 it came out like in what, 2002? I think.
Something like that, probably.
Yeah, I was 10 when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's perfect. Perfect.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, all right.
I could talk about Sonic the Hedgehog for all day. But yeah, we should probably... we have 3 episodes of Star Wars to talk about today. True,
yeah.
And they're 3 very different, very good ones, so...
Yes, this is a good arc, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the last 3 episodes of this 5-episode arc, which, by the way, I could be wrong, but I was looking through, like, our big old spreadsheet of content, and I think this is the only arc in Clone Wars that is 5 episodes.
Really?
I think, yeah, everything else is at longest 4 episodes. I think. I would have to go back and confirm that, but I went through and I altered our spreadsheet because we've decided that we're doing no more than 3 episodes of Clone Wars or per podcast episode so that we can survive this.
Yes.
And so I went through and highlighted split anything that's 4 episodes or longer into 2 podcast episodes for our spreadsheet. And,
wow.
It looks like there's only
seasons 4, 5, and 6 are killer. And 7. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Season 4, 5, 6, and 7 are mostly 4-episode arcs. So
wow.
Yeah.
Oops.
No, this would be great.
Oh,
we've got unlimited content, remember? So
unlimited.
Yeah. So yes, I'm excited for us to talk about these episodes. I don't think there's no Star Wars news lately, is there? No.
No.
New or exciting or interesting.
We're still in the actor strikes. There's not a whole lot coming out right now.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, let's move on to our main segment where we are talking about the Clone Wars Season 2, Episodes 6, 7, and 8. Weapons Factory, Legacy of Terror, and Brain Invaders.
Oh man.
Yeah. What a series of episodes these are. Just like you said, very diverse, very different.
Yeah,
but all very good.
We got 3 different genres. We have we have a heist. We have what's the next one? Legacy of Terror. Yeah, we have it's an alien,
a horror
it's alien.
Yeah.
And then Brain Invaders is it's a
thriller,
but also zombie, but also I don't know, anyone could be the imposter kind of thing. You don't know.
If, kind of the thing. Yeah. Yeah. Among Us. Yeah. Imposter. All right. So, first episode of part 2 of this 5-episode arc. So, the 3rd episode in this arc is episode 6, Weapons Factory. Financial Events. Oh wait, the moral.
Right. My bad. I'm so sorry. The moral.
How dare you?
The moral is no gift is more precious than trust. 21
Oh my God, Sam.
21 BBY.
on Wikipedia, they have an image for every episode, right? And the image for this one is just Ahsoka mid-fall about to hit the ground.
Yeah.
It's silly.
It's Ahsoka just ragdolling down a mine shaft kind of thing.
Yeah. About to just hit the deck.
Yeah.
To wipe out.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Ahsoka.
It's record scratch. I bet you're wondering how I wound up here. Kind of. Yeah.
Yep. That's me.
Yeah. I bet you're wondering how I wound up in concussion protocol. All right. Here we are.
Oh, no.
Okay. The final surge. Having learned of Warlord Poggle the Lesser's plot to rebuild a separatist droid foundry on Geonosis, Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker and his Padawan Ahsoka Tano prepare to assault this heavily fortified installation. Their mission? Destroy the factory at all costs. Anticipating stiff resistance, Republic commanders send Jedi Master Luminar Unduli and her Padawan Barriss Ophi to reinforce the attack, but time runs short for our intrepid heroes as the dreaded droid mill nears completion.
This is exciting because this is we're getting Luminar Unduli again, which she's always great, but also we're getting Barriss Ophi for the first time. She ends up being a very important character in the Clone Wars.
Indeed.
Yeah, man, I feel like every other episode these days we're being introduced to a character where I'm oh, I know them. This is exciting. This is it's seeing these characters coming back through the series after having seen everything once at least, and being oh yeah, right. I know where this is going, and so I kind of know what to look for and to remember, and it's exciting.
Yep. Yeah, I forgot all this was this early in the Clone Wars too. This is I don't know. Also, I've just noticed the animation like is better again. Like it's just like
these episodes look really good. Yeah.
Anyway, we should go. All right, so the Republic Army is pushing forward towards the massive droid foundry after destroying the main shield generator. Luminar Unduli's squadron of gunships is forced to land south of Anakin Skywalker's position. Meanwhile, Ahsoka Tano is briefing her clone squad on the battle plan to take control of the approaching bridge by destroying the gun emplacements on the other side. But Skywalker keeps interrupting her sentences. Once the briefing is over, she demands of him why he keeps barging in on her briefings, which makes her believe that he doesn't trust her. Skywalker defends himself by saying that he just wants to get the job done right, but this only strengthens Tano's irritation. They're arguing as Luminara and her Padawan Barriss Offee arrive to discuss the plan of attack. This back and forth is just very, I don't know, it's silly, but
it's very Anakin and Ahsoka.
It is very Anakin and Ahsoka. It's just they're like, I don't know. It kind of reminds me like Anakin only like he doesn't have like a strong parental figure in his life. He just has like people he sees himself on equal footing with, or either equal or better, right? He's like he doesn't like have a lot of people that he like has to treat with respect, like in terms of like authority figures. And so because Obi-Wan is his master, is supposed to be kind of like the authority figure, and they're just basically just brothers. Like, yeah. And so he gets to be a brat, and now Ahsoka's being a brat because that's all she sees. So yeah.
Although to be fair, like he was the one being a jerk in this situation.
Oh, for sure. He deserves it. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Yeah, we see a lot of like Anakin being the worst in some of these. Anyway, so that's when Luminara and Barriss Offee show up, and they are like the most tight-laced, like by the book.
There's some extreme contrast here. Like on the one hand, we've got Anakin and Ahsoka, who are very like, you know, play fast and loose with the rules and kind of emotional and like arguing with each other. And then we've got Luminar Unduli and Barriss Offee, who are like, you know, coming in very like calm and composed and like respectful towards each other. And when like Barriss introduces herself, she like bows. And they're talking about how like important preparation is, and Barriss like has memorized the layout of these underground catacombs and everything just like in case, basically. Yeah. And you know, it's such a different. I think we'll get more into it, but like what's interesting about this episode largely is like the difference between these two and how it kind of highlights the value of both of these kind of approaches. Yeah, you know, because Luminar and Barriss come in with like preparation, and Anakin and Ahsoka go off of like talent and vibes. Like that's yeah. I think the thing that ends up kind of being like their saving grace is that, you know, that Anakin and especially Ahsoka, they know how to like act. They know how to respond to things when things go awry. Yes, they're you know prepared. They're prepared in a different way. They're prepared with the ability to respond to unexpected circumstances. Yep, they are the ultimate improvisers for sure. All right. Yeah. Excuse me. The 4 Jedi then analyze the tactical data on the droid factory. Skywalker boldly suggests a frontal attack, but Nduli says that a frontal assault would be too risky. She suggests to infiltrate the Geonosian catacombs beneath the factory, accessible through the bottom of the gorge, and during the foundry and destroying its main reactor with explosives. Nduli opts that she and Skywalker keep Poggle the Lesser's forces occupied while the Padawans infiltrate the factory, though Skywalker believes Tano is not ready for a mission like this despite her insistence. As the Padawans take off, Nduli asks Skywalker why he doesn't want Tano participating, to which he doesn't answer. They then prepare a frontal assault by having their troops move straight towards the bridge. Meanwhile, inside the factory, Lord Poggle and his tactical droid TX-21 monitor the factory's efficiency. Though it is operating at 50% capacity, it has already churned out 10 garrisons of droids ready to deploy. A new weapon, super tanks capable of repelling Republic artillery, approaches operational status as well. Anakin and Luminara, along with Captain Rex and Commander Gree's clone troopers, march across the bridge to battle the droids. Unfortunately, they fall into a trap as Geonosians start coming out of the surrounding spires, leaving their forces in a deadlock. As the Jedi continue to push forward, Poggle is advised by his tactical droid to set loose the super tanks, equipped with ray-shielded armor powerful enough to stand against Republic artillery. Down below, the Padawans have successfully infiltrated the catacombs. They sneak past a wall filled with sleeping Geonosians and proceed carefully, but are unable to avoid
awakening one Geonosian who follows them through the catacombs from that point onward. Eventually, Padawans make it to the factory's main reactor and start placing explosive around it. However, the Geonosian they woke up has alerted Poggle and his tactical droid, who arrive with one super tank and many Geonosian warriors in the reactor room. The warriors begin picking their bombs off the reactor while the tank starts firing at the Padawans. Ahsoka attempts to stop the Geonosians by grabbing onto two winged warriors, but they cause her to slam against the reactor, knocking her unconscious. And as the Geonosians escape the catacombs, Offie is left with a choice: the bombs or Ahsoka's life. Outside, the super tank's mortar cannons make short work of the clone forces and their cannons. Skywalker orders a retreat as he and Unduli plant bombs on the underside of the bridge the tanks are on before detonating them. They then have to face a second wave of battle droids without any heavy artillery, infantry support, or escape. Inside the factory, Offie attacks the super tank, destroys the droid drivers, and successfully takes control of the tank when Ahsoka wakes up. They decide to use the tank to destroy the reactor, knowing that they won't survive. The explosion destroys the factory, causing the spire it was built in to collapse on the droids, attacking the Masters and the clone army, but the tank's heavy armor protects the Padawans from the massive explosion. After failing to contact the Padawans on their comlink, Unduli believes they are dead, but Skywalker determinedly orders that the rebel be moved. Deep below the surface, in the cockpit of the super tank, Tano and Offie struggle to stay conscious. Worried that they will die from lack of air, Tano fashions a communicator out of a power cell from the tank in an attempt to contact her master. Receiving the signal, Skywalker rushes over to a pile of debris, and the two masters telekinetically lift the debris off the tank, freeing their Padawans. Upon seeing the two girls still alive, Anakin says to Unduli that he never lost faith in finding their apprentices, chiding her for giving up on them too soon. But Luminara replies that unlike him, when the time will come, she'll simply be prepared to let her student go, and asks Skywalker if he can say the same, which he does not answer. A few seconds later, while Luminara commends her Padawan for the success of the mission, Barriss tells her master that it was thanks to Ahsoka that they managed to contact Anakin. Unduli then admits that Ahsoka that her master never lost faith in her. End of the first episode.
Yay! This is a good episode.
It was a good episode.
All three of these are good episodes, but it's like, it was cool to see, like, the kind of the establishing of this relationship between Ahsoka and Barriss, because they end up being like, they end up being close friends throughout the Clone Wars, you know?
Yes.
And then other stuff happens that we will get to later.
Spoilers. Spoilers.
Yeah. Spoilers. But yeah, it was cool to see, like, the kind of the dynamic between the two of them. Like, they're clearly, like, very different, but they get along really well immediately.
Yeah.
It's one of those kind of opposites attract situations.
That's what I was thinking.
I feel like, you know, they're both like, you know, I think what unites them is that they're both, like, really, you know, determined to do the right thing and to do a good job and to, you know, serve their masters and you know, it's just they have different approaches to it. So, like, you know, Barriss is, you know, she's very capable and very prepared and, like, obviously very intelligent. But then when it comes to, like, situations where you know, like they get trapped in the tank at the end, and Barriss is like, I don't know what we're supposed to do now. Like we're out of, you know, our plan has gone awry, and I don't know what to do now. And Ahsoka is the one who's like, no, we can do this, and kind of comes up with a plan on the spot and is able to kind of get them out. And so, you know, it's one of those, like, opposites attract, but also they're, you know, they complement each other in terms of their strengths, you know. And then I think the situation, like, at the end when
I want to talk about that.
When Luminar is like, so it says, Anakin says to Unduli that he never lost faith in finding their apprentices, chiding her for giving up on them too soon. But Luminar replies that unlike him, when the time comes, she'll simply be prepared to let her student go, and asks Skywalker if he can say the same, which he does not answer. It's, this scene is very, like, there's a lot of things in this, like, across this arc that I think echo things that we'll see later in the Clone Wars, and one of those is, like, there's a lot of you know, talk about, like, you know, this is theme of, like, attachment of and we'll see that in later episodes in this arc too, but like, you know, how like from the very beginning of this episode, it's like there's a part when Luminara is like, you do you not trust your Padawan? And he's like, no, I do trust her. And she's like, so what's wrong then? And he doesn't answer, but it's clear like he's worrying about her because he cares for her. It's an attachment thing, you know. That's kind of what's bothering him in the moment, and he doesn't answer because he knows that, like, you know, he's going to be chided about, like, you know, if he says that, it's, you know, that's not what a Jedi is supposed to do or to be. And I think, you know, as great as Luminara Unduli is, I think she also kind of exemplifies one of the weaknesses of the Jedi, and one of kind of the ways in which the Jedi are often misguided, which is that they're like too detached. You know, I feel like, you know, on the one hand, like, yes, she's very clearly like wise to be like, yeah, I'm willing to let go of my Padawan if this is her time, you know. But at the same time, it does feel a little bit like she kind of like was so detached that she kind of like not gave up, but was like willing to kind of accept it too quickly.
Oh yeah,
I think there's value in like, yeah, I think there's a difference between like, you know, being willing and able to accept loss and embracing it too quickly. And, you know, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. So. I think one of the things I have kind of like come to believe about this arc in particular is like, one, we see a lot of like Vader foreshadowing in this.
Some very
But I think Luminara and Barriss kind of symbolize which you were kind of talking about. They kind of symbolize like the other extreme to Anakin's like over attachment, quote unquote, of like the over detachment. You know, like they like they're kind of like the archetypal, like, what does this look like if the pendulum swings in the other direction? And I think Anakin, like, his like attachments that he feels, none of them were in and of themselves bad, but the Jedi would say that they were. Right. Yeah.
And that's part of what leads him to the dark side. Is the fact that like he's chided for it. Like, you know, it's like these are natural, like, and in many cases healthy attachments to have. And it's just the fact that, like, you know, he's constantly told that this is like a bad thing, and, you know, he's not supposed to feel this way. And, you know, I feel like that partly, like, you know, it kind of makes things worse. Like if he was allowed to, like, because I feel like part of what makes Anakin such a great Jedi is the fact that he has these attachments and he cares so much about people, you know? Yeah. And I think when you take away that sort of, sorry, that was my phone. When you take away that sort of, like, that aspect of relationships that, like, it can corrupt, you know, kind of you know, like you said, like kind of the extreme detachment, you know, side of things. Yeah,
because I think like the attachments that Anakin experiences are like very human and like are like what make like what the Jedi are fighting for worth it. You know, like
exactly
like these like relationships like that, like relationships are like what makes being like we're made to like be in community, or made to be in relationships, and if we don't have those relationships, we can't experience those things, then like it's kind of like, what's the point? Like, why are we doing all this fighting? Like they're out there protecting, like trying to hold evil at bay, like across the galaxy, but for what purpose? Right? Is it just like so that good wins, or is it so that, like, because good wins, then all this other good stuff can happen? You know, right? I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but like I think that, like, I don't know, my brain is going somewhere and I'm not sure where it's going. But but it's like but I don't know, it's just like we do, like, the Jedi do all these things for people and not principles. And I think like when they do them for principles rather than people, that's where it kind of like you get into the Luminara and Unduli Barriss Offee kind of like detached for the sake of detachment, right? Versus,
your principle should be a means to an end, not the end itself.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, just as you were talking, that kind of reminded me of, like, I'm not going to go super into this because I feel like if I try to speak articulately about this topic, I won't be great at it. But I watched a video essay recently about Stoicism. There's a YouTube channel called Philosophy Tube that makes a lot of really great videos about just like kind of explaining different, like, like philosophical ideas and views and topics. And there's one of their more recent videos is about stoicism, and a lot of that kind of reminds me of the way that the Jedi Order kind of acts. It's a lot about like, you know, detaching yourself from like emotional responses to things. But she also, like, in the video, she talks about, like, you know, the kind of the good and positive aspects of it, but also kind of a lot of the criticisms of stoicism as a practice or as a philosophy. And one of those being kind of the idea of becoming too detached from things. And like, you know, kind of the same sort of stuff that we were talking about in this episode. You know, it just, you know, it sounded very familiar. It rang true to like what she was talking about in that. So that's neat. I can send you that video. I think it's that whole channel, highly recommended.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Anyway,
Philosophy Tube, everybody. Let's move on to the next episode.
Let's do it. Legacy of Terror.
All right, I'll do this one.
Do it.
All right. Legacy of Terror. The moral of this episode is sometimes accepting help is harder than offering it. All right. Impenetrable defense. That's how he says it. Impenetrable defense.
Truly.
Victory on Geonosis. After a massive planetary siege, the separatist forces on Geonosis have finally fallen. Key weapons factories have been destroyed, but at a heavy cost to Republic troops. Now, as Jedi Master Luminara Unduli and Obi-Wan Kenobi begin a cleanup of the planet, they launch an intense campaign to find separatist leader Poggle the Lesser and bring him to justice. Here we go. Ahsoka and Barriss both leave the battlefield to recuperate. Up on a cliff, Luminara and Obi-Wan note the high casualties taken during the battle. The former sets out on a speeder to find Poggle the Lesser, as his capture, along with any information he has, would prove useful against the Separatists. Meanwhile, Poggle's AAT is dragging a number of crates with the use of tractor beams. A sandstorm begins, and one crate falls off, but Poggle tells his droids to leave it. Luminara and her clone companion Buzz, his name is Buzz? That's great, follow Poggle's trail as they brave through the sandstorm. They track Poggle to the Progate Temple. I'm assuming that I pronounced that right. In one of the Republic acclamator ships, Obi-Wan arrives on the bridge, only to be surprised to see Master Ki-Adi-Mundi fresh out of the packed tank. Moments later, Luminara holographically calls them, reporting that she has found what seemed to be a munitions container. She is advised by Obi-Wan via hologram to wait for support. Suddenly, after Buzz pushes a rock that shows a hole into the catacombs beneath, he is heard screaming, and contact with Luminara is lost. Anakin eagerly wants to go help, but the other masters advise to wait until the storm is over. After the storm, Anakin and Obi-Wan bring a squad to the temple. Cody finds Buzz's body, and Obi-Wan finds Luminara's lightsaber. They then see a statue of what seems to be a Geonosian queen's head above the archway of a dark tunnel. Obi-Wan mentions that there are legends of Geonosian queens, but no proof has been found of their existence. They go through the archway, entering a strange maze. Thus begins our super creepy, like, dark horror episode. Like, I feel like we've had several episodes in the past that are kind of similar to this. Like, there was the one in Grievous's castle. It was very
so
like,
much fun.
You know, spooky and like, you know, things sneaking around in the dark, and you know. But I feel like this is the one. This episode is kind of the most explicitly horror coded episode so far, because it's not only do we have like these, you know, these creepy underground tunnels, but we've also got like zombie bugs and
and like,
you know,
there are a couple jump scares in it too, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Elsewhere, the Geonosians drag the unconscious body of Luminara. She wakes up noticing that she is cuffed and without her lightsaber, but still tries fighting them off with kung fu. By the way, she's amazing. She like
super
does
cool
backflip and then just like you know is fighting all these zombie bugs, like, but like just I don't know. She's cool. She's doing Jackie Chan stuff. She's cool.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't know. I appreciate seeing a Jedi having to fight without a lightsaber and seeing that they could still kick ass. You know,
we love it.
That's cool.
We love it.
She still tries fighting them off, but notices that the Geonosians aren't feeling pain, almost undead-like. She contacts Obi-Wan, telling them not to enter the temple before she is subdued. Then Obi-Wan and Anakin are attacked by the undead Geonosians, who are able to move even if shot or hacked. Hacked? Oh, like hacked apart, like with the lightsaber. Mm-hmm. Okay, I was like, what does that mean? Like robot? Like they hacked him? Okay. There's also something worm-like moving through their face openings. They manage to save themselves by going down a tunnel. Obi-Wan remembers rumors of a hive mind able to control Geonosians even after they are dead. Because they are too deep underground to contact Mundi, Obi-Wan sends 2 clones to head back to the surface and call for help. Unfortunately, they are killed by the zombies before they can do so. Obi-Wan thus suggests that the rest of them should stick together. They eventually find Luminara held in energy bonds before the Geonosian queen, Karina the Great. Anakin prepares to charge in, but Obi-Wan has a different strategy. He tells Cody to have his men surround the place and wait for his signal to blind the zombies and bury them. The Jedi approach the queen, her thralls letting them pass. Obi-Wan diplomatically tells her to surrender, but the queen refuses, intending on controlling the Jedi with her brain worm, catching Obi-Wan's interest about the way the queen's mind control works. Poggle the Lesser approaches Luminara with a worm, but before he can snake his way up her nose, Obi-Wan gives the signal and Cody and his men surprise the Geonosians, projecting light on the zombies and confusing them. They save Luminara and take Poggle prisoner. The undead try to pursue the Jedi and the clones, but the clones blast the cave supports, causing the ceiling of the cave to collapse. Obi-Wan intends to study the worm that was going to be used on Luminara, but Anakin squishes it with his boot, saying they should get out. They attempt to escape the collapsing temple with the zombies after them. As they make their way up the hole that leads to the surface, a few zombies follow. Then, a rush of dust and air pushes them up. They escape before the entire temple caves in, probably burying the queen.
They got farted out.
End of episode.
They got farted.
That was cool.
Yep, they got farted out of the temple.
Got farted out by that cave.
Yep.
Big old cave fart. Yep. This is I loved this sequence when they like they find Luminara and Anakin's like let's go save Luminara, like, which is like probably the logical thing to do, but then Obi-Wan's like, no, let's chat, and then we get a great like Obi-Wan being diplomatic scene, which I love. Obi-Wan trying to talk his way out of something. Yes. Situation. It's always great.
He's such a smooth talker. I love it. It's so fun.
It's excellent. It's amazing. And then and then like there's a really funny exchange when they're like the queen is like explaining that she's gonna like, you know, put a brain worm inside of Luminara and control her, and Anakin's like, we should like help her, right? And Obi-Wan's like, no, wait, I want to see how this works. and he's like, where do you think the worm's gonna enter? The ear or the nose, or the nose of the mouth or something? And after a second, Anakin's like reluctant and like, I think it's the nose. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. And meanwhile, Luminara's like, I would appreciate it if you guys would not let this worm go into my brain. And it was just a funny scene. And then you know, obviously Obi-Wan did, like, you know, he gives Cody the signal before the brain worm is like able to get inside of her, but it's like, it was just
it did look like it was coming close.
Yeah. He was, yeah. Obi-Wan was getting a little cocky.
Yeah, it's very much like no, wait, I want to see what they're doing here, kind of thing. Like, yeah,
it's for science.
Yeah, this could be fun.
But yeah, man. So brainworms.
Yep, brainworms. Yeah, this episode was pretty straightforward. Kind of more setting up the next episode, I think, than anything else. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the penultimate, like, teeing up for a really good final episode. We ready for that one?
Yeah, this is very like, I mean, this episode we just talked about was like, you know, it was more of a like, you know, like you said, not a lot happened like plot wise. It was mostly just like they went into the cave, they fought some zombies, they had a conversation with a big old bug queen, and then they saved her and they left. You know, it was, you know, not a whole lot happened, but it was like, you know, the kind of the mood and the ambiance and the horror vibes made up for it. You know, it was cool and interesting.
Yep.
All right, yeah, let's move on to the last episode of this arc, Brain Invaders. Yep. Sam, what's the moral of this episode?
Attachment is not comparison.
That's not what it is.
It's not what it is.
Again. No,
The moral of Brain Invaders?
Yeah, read it again.
Attachment is not compassion.
The last word wrong.
I'm tired. It's tired. Okay. It's not compassion.
It's also not comparison, probably.
Yeah, that's true. I was like, I read it and I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
Attachment is not comparison. I mean, you know, that's probably true.
I'm tired. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, attachment, not compassion. Let's go. Let's do it. I like how we're not even like doing the voice when we say independent defense anymore. We're just like, independent defense.
This is the bit now, Jack.
You say it in a weird voice, but not the right voice.
An impenetrable defense. Victory on Geonosis! After a massive assault, the Republic has finally recaptured the Separatist planet and shut down its droid factories of doom. An investigation by Luminar and Dooley led to the discovery of Queen Karina the Great, whose hive mind could reanimate dead Geonosian soldiers. During the destruction of the Queen's temple, Jedi apprehended her advisor Poggle the Lesser, and now prepare to deliver the villain to Coruscant for trial.
I'm excited about this episode because I think this was the most interesting episode of the
truly,
three, personally.
Truly.
Yeah.
All right. Padawans Ahsoka Tano and Barriss Offee are selected to transport medical supplies to Mace Windu on Dantooine from a station near Ord Kestis, while Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Luminar and Dooley, and Ki-Adi-Mundi prepare to deliver Poggle.
Why are you excited about Ki-Adi-Mundi?
I don't know.
Oh my God, it's Conehead!
Yeah.
Here he is! What about the droid attack of the Wookiees, you guys?
I don't know. They prepare to deliver Poggle Lesser to Coruscant. At the same time, a group of clone troopers are resting outside the Progate Temple, where a brainworm hatches from its egg and enters into the nose of one of the troopers, CT-9544 Scythe. Moments later, the company is awakened and informed of their new errand mission to Ord Kestis. They follow the Padawans aboard the medical frigate TB-73, with Scythe at the rear carrying more brainworm eggs in his backpack. Love that. After the frigate jump into hyperspace, Ahsoka and Barriss lie on their beds, but Ahsoka can't sleep. She thus suggests to Barriss that they should go eat, and they head off to the mess hall. Meanwhile, Scythe enters the troop's sleeping quarters and releases some yellow eggs. Worms hatch and find their way to the noses of the sleeping clones. While the Padawans are eating, Scythe leads 2 infected clones to kill the ship's pilots, taking control of the bridge. The other 2 possessed clones, Ox and Edge, enter the mess hall and attack the Padawans, who eventually manage to knock the troopers unconscious. An instant later, 2 more clones, Trap and Havoc, come through the door. The Jedi question them with lightsabers drawn, but the troopers say they don't know what's going on and put their guns on the floor. The Padawans then deactivate the lightsabers, and the 4 of them decide to check if they are still in control of the bridge. After Barriss fails to contact the bridge via comlink, the 2 Padawans and Trap set off to go there, while Havoc stays to watch the unconscious clones. In a different place in hyperspace, Jedi Masters Luminar and Ki-Adi inform Anakin and Obi-Wan that the medical frigate did not check in on time. Anakin starts to worry for Ahsoka, but Ki-Adi suggests that they should focus on interrogating the so far uncooperative Poggle. Concurrently, the infected clones aboard the medical frigate engage the autopilot and security shields, blocking the way for Ahsoka, Barriss, and Trap. Barriss tries to override the shield controls, but Trap then fires his blaster at her. She manages to deflect it and disarm him, noticing that he too is infected by a brainworm. He throws himself at her, and she ultimately has to kill him in self-defense. Ahsoka manages to kill the brainworm, which has emerged to take possession of Barriss. The Padawans decide to contact Master Fisto. Fisto, there it is. And
that's the one you meant to be excited for.
Yeah, I knew that Kid Fisto was in this episode, and I'm tired, and it's just like it wasn't Obi-Wan, it wasn't the other one, so it's just like, oh, here it is, but it wasn't him. That's why I was excited.
We're getting the special sleepy variant of Sam today.
Truly, I'm like wrapped up in a blanket right now. I'm like ready to go. Cozy. I am cozy. All right. Padawans decide to contact Master Fisto and quarantine the ship, but on their way, they come across the cargo hold, where the infected troopers are releasing a brainworm into another trooper. They're spotted and realize they are outnumbered, so they escape through the ventilation system. From there, Barriss goes to disable the thrusters, and Ahsoka heads to the communication room to send a warning to Kit Fisto. Ahsoka tells Fisto about the worms, but he insists that the frigate dock anyway in order for a sanitation team to take out the worms. Ahsoka contacts Anakin, updating him on the situation. On her way to the reactor, Barriss gets temporarily incapacitated by an electric trap and is exposed to a newly hatched brainworm by the troopers. After finishing her transmission, Ahsoka is surprised to see Barriss standing beside her. The possessed Barriss attacks her, and after a brief fight, Ahsoka manages to escape into the ventilation system. In the meantime, Anakin angrily goes to interrogate Poggle, using the Force to try to make him talk, but this doesn't work. He thus hits Poggle and proceeds to Force choke him. After getting the information he needs, Anakin informs the other Jedi about the brainworms, contacts Ahsoka on her comlink, and tells her that the worms are affected by cold temperature and that she should rupture the coolant system. Let's pause for a minute. We Anakin was all dark sidey there for a minute.
Yes. So there's a moment when like basically like Anakin is getting desperate and mad, and he's like, we got to figure out what the deal is with these worms so that I can save my Padawan, basically. And they've already tried to interrogate Poggle before, and they tried to use the Jedi mind trick on him, and it doesn't work on Geonosians apparently. And so Anakin goes to see Poggle the Lesser to interrogate him himself to get some information out of him. And as he's walking into that prison cell where Poggle is, you can hear Darth Vader's theme.
Yeah.
You can hear the Imperial March. Yeah. Which was a nice little touch there. And then he goes in and he's like, it's like we're getting a preview of coming attractions.
Yeah, he tries to Jedi mind trick him. It doesn't work. Then he backhands him and then force chokes him.
Yeah, he goes far real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in about 10 seconds. He goes from, Jedi mind trick's not working. Cool, violence.
Yeah. One of those situations where like again, we were talking about attachment in one of the earlier episodes, and like this is one of those situations where like, yeah, maybe attachment is a bad thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
or
if you forget
it's
you give up your principles for the sake of
right. Yeah, everything has to be tempered by something else. Like, you gotta have temperance in all this, and like, I don't know, Anakin is just ruled by his passions a lot of the times. And that is ultimately his downfall. So
there's one other thing I wanted to talk about that was a little bit earlier in the episode. It's when Barriss and Ahsoka are in the mess hall eating. Yeah, they have a brief conversation, and they're like, they're talking about, it's mostly like Ahsoka kind of venting about like, or kind of openly like asking the question of like, what does life look like for us after the war is over? Like, are because she's like, all I've ever been is a warrior, and Master Windu says we're supposed to be peacekeepers, not warriors, and but then like somebody has to like continue to like keep the peace after peace is achieved, right? So will we do that as peacekeepers, or will we do that as warriors? Like, what will that look like? And it's interesting to see like a conversation specifically between these two people about kind of like what is our responsibility as Jedi, what's the right way to do things, and what do we end up basically what's right and what's wrong here. And you can see kind of the beginnings of their like at least questioning the way that things are run, and then that in a few seasons will definitely come to a head. Specifically with these two characters, and I just thought that was an interesting like exchange there, and kind of telling. The other thing is there's a point when like right before the like zombified clones like capture Barriss, or like right after, I think. One of the possessed clones says something like, if there's anything a clone knows how to do, it's how to defeat a Jedi, or something like that. And it's like this whole like the clones being forced to fight Jedi against their will is like there's just so many echoes of future things in this episode.
There really are.
It's very interesting how many different things happen in this episode that they're like a portent of things to come in a lot of ways.
Truly. Where were we? Okay, got it. So Ahsoka ruptures the coolant system, releasing freezing air into the ship just as it comes out of hyperspace. While the clones get weakened by the cold, Barriss finds Ahsoka's trail again and confronts her inside the bridge. They fight, but Barriss and her worm are eventually taken out by the cold. Regaining her own will for a moment, Barriss begs Ahsoka to kill her, but Ahsoka can't bring herself to do so. Barriss attacks again, but Ahsoka manages to kill the worm as it protrudes from Barriss' mouth. The frigate docks at the station, and Kit Fisto boards it with 2 clone troopers. They find the 2 frozen Padawans lying on the ground, still breathing, and bring them to the infirmary. When Ahsoka wakes up, Anakin is waiting at the end of her bed, and he assures her that everything is all right, and that Barriss and the troopers were saved. Fisto explains the parasite's origins, and he and Anakin theorize that this was likely how the Geonosian recaptured their planet. Anakin remarks the troops of Geonosis will have to be warned so such an incident doesn't recur. Once Fisto is left, Ahsoka tells Anakin about Barriss begging for death under the worm's influence, and wonders if she should have killed Barriss since had they failed, her refusal could have resulted in the entire medical station being infected. Anakin consoles her with the knowledge that Barriss only thought her death was necessary to stop the worms, and that she did the right thing in sparing her friend, since it is a Jedi's responsibility to save as many people as they can. End of this arc.
Yay! Yeah, this is some. Well, first of all, like, that was a dark moment. Like,
yeah,
like with Barriss being like, "Kill me." Like,
yeah,
that's darker than this series usually goes.
Yeah,
like,
I was surprised.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Like, and then we get this conversation about it at the end too. Like, you know, Ahsoka asks Anakin, like, "Did I do the right thing?" Like, she asked me to kill her, and then there's, you know, there was so much at stake, and, you know, is it right for me to try and save one person when the lives of so many others are at stake? And Anakin's response is basically like, you did the right thing because you did what you thought was best, and, you know, saving as many lives as possible is, you know, the right thing to do for a Jedi. And I think it makes sense that, you know, from Anakin's perspective, that like that would be the right way to go about things, is to, you know, Anakin's very like, I don't want anybody to die, obviously, you know, like he's
unless they're Poggle Molester.
Well, he doesn't kill Poggle though.
He's getting close.
That's, you know, that's true. But yeah, yeah, no, it's just it's I thought it was cool that, like, you know, we got this really interesting, like, dark moment, and then we got, you know, two of the characters actually like confronting it and talking about it. You know, that was neat. But yeah, like, this is a cool episode, and there was just like a lot of really interesting ideas, and in addition to the fact that it's cool, like, you know, zombie like thriller, who's a zombie who isn't, like, mind control thing, and we get a lightsaber fight and chase between Barriss and Ahsoka. That's cool. And yeah, this is a cool episode, and but it had like a lot of stuff going for it, like thematically and in terms of foreshadowing, you know, you know, a lot of the same themes that we've been talking about and that will continue to be important in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man,
this is good. Jack, did you have a favorite part of this arc, or this half of the arc?
I think it's the one that came to mind was was Obi-Wan just standing there, like, watching the worm try to crawl into Luminar's face and being like, which hole do you think it's gonna crawl into? It was just a funny scene.
That was great.
Yeah, I guess I would go with that. What about you, Sam?
It's a good one. I think on the opposite end of the spectrum, I think all the Vader foreshadowing was, it was like, I don't know, it was kind of thrilling. Like, just like, oh, it's happening. Wow, that's exciting. Like, I mean, like, as, like, I love Anakin, like, as a character, and like, it sucks to see that he, like, watching him, like, fall to the dark side, and like kind of watching it happen in slow motion. But at the same time, like, Darth Vader's the coolest fucking villain in like all of anything, and just like, I mean, yeah, Darth Vader, yes! Yeah. So yeah,
it's exciting. There's definitely a like, ooh, I know what this is. I know what's happening. Yeah, no, I get that. It's also interesting to me to, like, you know, how in the Clone Wars series we get to see kind of who Anakin is most of the time, which is like a good guy who's like, you know, he's you know, kind of, you know, arrogant at times and a little overconfident, and, you know, breaks the rules, but like he's generally a really good guy who really cares about people and cares about doing the right thing, and or at least cares about saving people, I guess. You know, not necessarily, he doesn't care necessarily as much about the methods by which he does that, which is, you know, obviously his problem, but it's just, it's cool to see, like, you know, Anakin is like he's like well respected and very like accomplished and skilled, and also, you know, a likable guy who, you know, has principles and who just like cares very deeply for people. And it's so like it adds so much, I think, to his later fall and to Darth Vader as a character, that like, you know, you have somebody who cares so deeply and loves so much, and yet like that ends up being corrupted into like, you know, becoming like one of the like the most terrifying and like murderous villains, you know, in this universe. It's just, you know, it's a fascinating like way of like, it's astonishing to me that they're able to like make it work. The idea that like, you know, we have this like this war hero who like fights for what's good, and he, you know, he loves his friends, and like, and then, you know, over the course of a few days he's like, oh, actually I'm Space Hitler now, like, you know. But like they like, you know, I mean, all the performances aside, like, you know, obviously, you know, Hayden Christensen and Matt Lanter are both great, but like I think the Clone Wars in particular does such a good job of kind of sprinkling these moments in where we kind of get this foreshadowing, get this understanding of like, oh, okay, I could see how this could happen to somebody. I could see how, like, you know, how he fell and why, and like, you know, not just due to kind of like his personality, but also the situations that he's put in and the kind of society that he lives in, and the way that society and the way that the Jedi Order treats people. And yeah, it's cool. It's a cool time.
It is. Yeah.
You have an MVP, Sam?
I think Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's got to be. I think it's got to be.
It has to be Ahsoka. Like, just so much, like, of her, like, her improvising in the weapons factory, and like, yeah, that saved the two of their lives there,
and then saving Barriss again later.
Yeah, she. I mean,
and also like asking questions about like, you know, what is our responsibility as Jedi, and like, you know, she's, you know, showing a lot of her kind of like her wisdom and foresight, and like, you know, she's asking the right questions, basically. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, so. For sure. Yeah, it's got to be Ahsoka.
Yeah, Ahsoka. Or we could give it to Poggle the Lesser. We give it to Poggle the Lesser, or we give it to the Queen, who she's big.
She is big.
Big lady.
Big lady.
But yeah, no, Ahsoka.
Yes.
No, like kill count really, because like I mean, I don't know, like I don't think we ever see any like they like kill some zombies, but those were zombies, so it's like,
yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
They were already dead, as Obi-Wan says. No Wilhelm scream, unfortunately. If only. I wish they had played a Wilhelm scream when the droid factory exploded. Oh! Yeah. Which, by the way, that was such a cool like visual sequence of like the, you know, the tank shooting those missiles at the reactor or whatever, and then it blowing up, and then the whole like the whole factory kind of castle looking structure like slowly collapsing, and then one of the towers falls and like destroys like an entire battalion of battle droids at once.
Yeah.
And then there's like this giant dust cloud that like pours out for miles. And yeah, one of the things I liked was like that I noticed in this arc is that they like a lot of the Jedi's faces, they like put dirt on their faces because like, of course they would, because, you know, this has been like a multi-day battle, and they've been, you know, out in this really dusty region, and like so it makes sense,
in a literal sandstorm, and
yeah, which like, you know, a lot of other, you know, I feel like past episodes they maybe wouldn't have done that, but now that like, I don't know, they're adding more detail. It's just, I don't know, it's a nice detail.
It is.
It's a little addition. Yeah. So like you said, just like the show is continuing to look better over time. Yeah. This is another step up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, more Star Wars is better, Star Wars, Sam. How does this episode make the movies and the rest of Star Wars better?
I think it kind of continues the conversation about attachments. And what is, like, are attachments bad? And if so, how? And in what context are they bad? Are they always bad? Are they sometimes bad? Are they never bad? Like, it like,
and how does it, like, how we talk about attachments affect
right? Yeah.
affect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely that. And then, like, you know, all the stuff we said about, like, foreshadowing of stuff that will happen later in the Clone Wars series, and also, obviously, like, the Vader-y stuff, you know?
Yes.
And also, anytime we get to see Obi-Wan be a smooth talker is always great.
Always the best.
Just the best. All right. Do we have any voicemails?
We do. I'm uploading it right
now. What?
It's a quick one.
We have a viewer mailbag. Listener mailbag.
It's a quick one.
Go.
Hello, Count Jacula and Sam. Sorry, I was trying to think of a appropriate costume for Sam for Halloween, and I cannot get anything. But Count Jacula makes perfect sense.
It does.
And speaking of Jacula, of Count Jacula, a happy birthday, good sir. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And that's all I got. No Star Wars content today, guys. Wait, why did I say content? Sorry, no Star Wars content today. But just happy birthday.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Jason. That was so nice of you to call in to say happy birthday to me. Aw.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, he cares.
That's so sweet.
We love Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we got.
He's our most frequent listener of Unlimited Content.
Unlimited content. Yep. How content are we? Unlimited. That's how content
we have unlimited contentness.
Yep.
You know what? I was going to say contention, but that's something very different. That's like the opposite.
Contentment, I think is what you're looking for.
Contentment, yeah. Unlimited contentment. That's going to be our philosophy podcast about like how to live a good life.
Yep. Yay.
Unlimited contentment. All right.
And then
this is a fun episode.
And then when we get in a fight, it's unlimited contempt.
No! I have my contempt for you is limited, Sam.
Aw.
Don't worry.
It's a big limit.
We're brothers.
It's a big limit, but it's limited.
I have so much contempt for you, but it is limited. There is a limit. Well, thank you for calling in, Jason. That was really nice of you. That brightened my day, definitely. And happy belated Halloween to you. This will probably come out in like December or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, still. If you'd like to join the discussion, leave a voicemail at 512-850-6653, and we might feature your comments, questions, or corrections on the podcast. Or follow Sam on Instagram if you know him in your life, and maybe sometimes he'll post a thing and ask questions and whatever, and we'll do like a lightning round. Those are fun too.
Those are fun. Yeah, if I remember to do it, and if I want to do it, I do it. So it's rare.
It's a rare time, but it's a rare treat. It's a treat.
It's a special treat.
Right. Special, delicious treat.
Mm.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. Tune in next time when we will be talking about the Clone Wars Season 2, Episodes 9 and 10, Grievous Intrigue and The Deserter. Ooh, The Deserter is a great episode. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. That is a really good one.
I'm excited for that one. It's going to be really good. But yeah. Sam is sleepy, so I think he needs to get to his beddy by time.
Hi, Sweepy.
He's Sweepy. He's a sleepy boy. Thanks for hanging out with me again, Sam. It's always a pleasure, of course, to hang out with my brother.
Yes, it's been good. It's been fun. It's been real fun.
It's been real fun.
It's real fun.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. May the force be with you, and stay safe and take care of yourselves and eat well, get good sleep, exercise, go to therapy, have some soup.
Soup.
Cut the chatter.
Cut the chatter.
Roger. All right, everybody.
Yay.
All right, cut the chatter. Roger.